The palace of Valara stood tall and bright under the three moons. Its silver towers stretched high into the sky, shining with light that could be seen for many miles. The queen ruled here with pride and order, and her daughter, Princess Serenia, lived under her watchful eyes. To the queen, her daughter was not just family but also a tool for power. The princess would one day marry a noble from another house, sealing an alliance that would strengthen the kingdom. That was the plan. But Serenia was not like the others in the court. She did not care for politics, power, or alliances. What she cared about was the unknown. The stars, the stories of distant worlds, and the mysteries beyond her mother's borders. While others admired her golden crown and her royal dress, she admired the night sky. Every night, when the palace grew quiet, and guards relaxed their watch, Serenia would sneak out. She wore a plain cloak hiding her royal face and walked beyond the gates toward the rocky hills outside the capital. There she could see the stars more clearly, far from the palace lights. One night, as she climbed the hill, she saw something strange. A streak of fire cut across the sky, brighter than a comet, and it fell behind the hills. The ground shook with the sound of something crashing. Her heart raced. Serenia hesitated for only a moment before running toward the light. She pushed through bushes, stumbled over stones, and finally reached a clearing where smoke rose into the sky. In the middle lay a broken ship, small, burned, and nothing like the sleek vessels of Valara. The hatch opened with a hiss. Serenia stepped back, her breath caught in her chest. A figure climbed out, coughing, holding his side. He was tall, with broad shoulders, but his face was different. No scaled skin, no glowing eyes, no crest of feathers like the other species she knew. His skin was pale, his hair dark, and his eyes sharp. He looked at her, surprised but not afraid. "Who are you?" he asked in a strange accent. Serenia's heart pounded. "I should ask the same. You fell from the sky." He gave a tired smile. "My name is Elias Ward. I'm human. My ship was damaged during travel. I had to make an emergency landing." The word human echoed in her mind. She had heard of humans in stories, rough, dangerous creatures from a death world called Earth. The galaxy spoke of them with a mix of fear and mockery. They were said to be too wild, too emotional, too fragile. No court in Valara had ever welcomed them. Yet, here he was, standing tall before her, not wild, not dangerous, just real. "You should not be here," Serenia said, pulling her cloak tighter. "This world does not welcome strangers, especially not humans." Elias looked around at the damaged ship, then back at her. "Then I suppose I'm lucky you found me first." Something in his voice made her pause. He was calm, even though his ship was broken and he was stranded on a world that might treat him as an enemy. His eyes carried no fear, only determination. Serenia glanced at the ship again. "Can you repair it?" "Not without help," Elias admitted. "I'll need tools, supplies, and time. But if your people find me, I doubt they'll give me any of that." She knew he was right. If the Queen's soldiers discovered a human, they would arrest him, maybe worse. Serenia should have left him there, should have turned and walked away. But instead she found herself asking, "What do you need?" Elias blinked, surprised. "You'd help me?" Serenia looked at the stars above. She thought of the endless nights she had spent dreaming of other worlds, and here, by chance, was someone from one of them. "Yes," she said, "but no one can know." From that night forward, Serenia visited the crash site in secret. She brought food, water, and tools stolen from the palace workshops. Together, she and Elias worked on the ship. He showed her how human machines functioned, explaining every part with patience. She had never seen technology so rugged, built, not for beauty like Valaran crafts, but for survival. At first, she spoke little, cautious of him. But as days passed, she asked more questions. "What is Earth like?" she asked once, watching him fix a broken panel. Elias chuckled. "Hard. The winters can kill you, the summers can burn you. Every animal wants to eat you. Every storm wants to drown you, but it's home. And humans, we don't give up. No matter what the world throws at us, we fight back. Serenia studied him. There was no arrogance in his tone, only pride. In her world, nobles bragged about power and titles, but Elias spoke of survival, of resilience. Another night she asked, "Are humans truly dangerous as the stories say?" He looked at her seriously. "Maybe. We fight when we must. We protect what we love. But dangerous? That depends on how you treat us." The answer stayed in her heart long after she left. As weeks passed, their bond grew. She laughed at his jokes, clumsy but honest. He listened to her dreams of seeing the stars, not as a princess bound by duty, but as a traveler free to choose her path. For the first time, someone looked at her not as a crown or a political piece, but simply as herself. One evening, as the sky turned red with the setting suns, Serenia brought him fresh supplies. Elias took them, his hand brushing against hers. She felt a spark, strange and warm. She pulled her hand back quickly, but her heart raced faster than ever. "You've risked much to help me," Elias said softly. "Why?" Serenia looked at him, then at the horizon. "Because I want to know what lies beyond this world. And because, when I am with you, I feel free." Elias said nothing at first, but his eyes softened. "Then maybe," he whispered, "freedom is what we both seek." The night grew, quiet. The moons rose. Serenia knew her life was changing in ways she had never imagined, but deep in the palace, the queen was beginning to notice her daughter's disappearances. Spies whispered of secret journeys beyond the walls. Suspicion grew. The days turned into weeks, and the hidden crash site became more than just a place of repair. It became a secret world for Princess Serenia and the human, Elias Ward. The outside galaxy could not reach them there, and the walls of the palace could not trap her. Elias worked tirelessly on the broken ship. His hands were rough, his clothes torn from the crash, but his determination never wavered. Serenia often watched him with curiosity. He would take apart damaged panels, fix wires, with care, and then sigh when another part sparked out. Yet no matter how many times the repairs failed, he never gave up. "Why do you keep trying?" Serenia asked him one evening, sitting on a stone near the ship. "It looks impossible. The engine is half burned." Elias wiped sweat from his brow and gave a small grin. "Because that's what humans do. We keep trying even when the odds are against us. Back on Earth, if we gave up every time the world tried to kill us, we wouldn't have survived." Serenia tilted her head. "Your world sounds cruel." Elias chuckled. "It is, but it taught us to adapt, to climb, to run, to fight. Earth made us stubborn. That's why humans can live in places others can't." His words stirred something inside her. She was used to Valaran nobles boasting of their wealth and their bloodlines. Yet here was a man who spoke with pride about survival, not power. Secret meetings every night. Serenia brought food and water, hidden in baskets. Sometimes fruit from the palace gardens, sometimes bread from the kitchens. Elias always thanked her, even though she was a princess and he was a stranger. Once, she asked him, "Do humans bow to their rulers?" Elias laughed, shaking his head. "Not always. Some do, some don't. We fight wars over freedom, because many humans believe no one should control another person's life." Serenia's eyes widened. "Then you do not have queens?" "Some places had them long ago," Elias said, "but most humans choose their leaders now. We argue, we disagree, but in the end the people decide. That's the human way." Serenia thought about her mother, the Queen of Valara, whose word was law. She imagined a people who could choose their rulers, who could challenge their leaders without fear. It felt impossible, yet thrilling. She asked, "And what happens if the leader is unwise?" "Then we replace them," Elias said simply. Serenia stared at him in silence. She could not imagine speaking such words about her own mother. Laughter. Under the stars their friendship deepened. Elias taught her human songs, humming simple tunes while working. Serenia tried to hum along, though she often missed the notes. They both laughed at her mistakes. In return, Serenia told him ancient Veleran, tales of warriors and queens. Elias listened with respect, his eyes fixed on her as though every word she spoke mattered. "You tell stories better than my tutors," Elias said once. Serenia smiled. "That is because I believe them." One night, after finishing a repair attempt, Elias sat on the grass beside her. The 3 moons hung high above, bathing them in silver light. Serenia pulled her cloak tighter, though the night was not cold. "Why do you come here, Serenia?" Elias asked quietly. "It is dangerous. If they discover you helping me, your people may punish you." Serenia looked at him. For a moment she considered lying, but the truth spilled out. "Because when I am here, I am not just the queen's daughter, I am myself." Elias's eyes softened. "And who are you, Serenia?" She paused, then whispered, "Someone who wishes she could choose her own path." For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of the night insects and the wind filled the air, the spark of something more over time. Serenia noticed how Elias treated her. Not as a princess, not as a figure of power, but as a friend. When she brought him food, he thanked her. When she asked questions, he listened. When she doubted herself, he encouraged her. No noble suitor had ever done that. They bowed, they praised her beauty, but their words were empty. Elias's words were simple, honest, and real. One evening, while carrying a small lantern, Serenia tripped on a rock. She stumbled forward, nearly falling. Elias caught her arm quickly, steadying her. "Careful," he said with a smile. Their eyes met, and Serenia felt her heart race. She pulled back, her face warm, though she could not explain why. That night, as she lay in her bed in the palace, she could not stop thinking of the look in his eyes, the pressure of the court. Meanwhile, in the palace, whispers began to spread. The queen's advisors noticed Serenia's frequent disappearances. Guards reported seeing her sneaking out at night. The queen, suspicious, began asking questions. "Where does the princess go?" she demanded. None could answer, but suspicion grew stronger each day. Serenia felt the pressure as her mother's eyes followed her more closely during meals, during ceremonies, during every step. Still, she continued her secret visits, unable to stay away from Elias. A choice in the dark one night, a storm rolled across the hills. The rain fell hard, the sky split with lightning. Serenia ran to the crash site anyway, her cloak soaked through. She found Elias inside the broken ship, trying to keep water from flooding the engine room. "You should not have come," Elias said, but relief filled his voice. "I had to," Serenia said firmly. She grabbed a bucket and helped him clear the water. For hours they worked side by side in the storm until the rain finally slowed. Exhausted, they collapsed inside the ship, breathing heavily. "You're reckless," Elias said with a tired laugh. Serenia looked at him, her hair wet, her heart pounding. "Perhaps, but I will not let you face this alone." Elias studied her for a long time, then said softly, "You're braver than most I've ever met." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with unspoken words. Serenia's hands trembled, but not from the cold. For the first time she realized the truth. Her feelings for him had grown into something more than friendship, and from the look in his eyes she knew he felt the same. A secret promise. The storm cleared. The moons broke through the clouds, casting silver light into the ship. Serenia sat close to Elias, her heart beating fast. "Elias," she whispered, "if you repair your ship, will you leave?" He looked at her with honesty. "Yes, I must. Return to my people, but—" He hesitated, then added, "I do not wish to leave without you." Serenia's breath caught. The thought of leaving Valara, leaving the palace, leaving her mother, it was terrifying. Yet the thought of staying behind, trapped forever in duty and silence, was worse. "Then one day," she whispered, "take me with you." Elias reached out, gently taking her hand. "One day I will." Their hands stayed together, a quiet promise made in the shadows of a broken ship, the growing danger. But even as their bond deepened, danger grew closer. The Queen's spies, frustrated by their failure to uncover Serenya's secret, sent trackers into the hills. Footprints were found, cloaks left behind, faint signs of movement leading toward the rocky clearing. It was only a matter of time before the truth was revealed. Serenya did not yet know it. Elias did not yet fear it. But soon the world of Valara would learn that the princess had given her heart not to a noble, not to a warrior, but to a human. The palace of Valara was not a place where secrets lasted long. Its tall silver towers were filled with eyes and ears, guards, servants, and spies who reported every whisper to the queen. Princess Serenya had been careful, but no one could slip away forever without being noticed. The queen sat on her throne, her face calm but her eyes sharp. Her advisors stood before her, bowing low. "My queen," one said softly, "the princess has been leaving the palace many nights. Always the same path, always the same direction. She believes she is unseen, but the guards have watched." The queen's fingers tightened around the arm of her throne. "And where does she go?" "We do not yet know, Majesty. But we have sent trackers into the hills. Soon we will learn." The queen leaned back, her thoughts racing. Serenya was her only daughter, the key to Valara's future. The princess's hand in marriage was meant to bind alliances, to strengthen the throne. If she was meeting someone in secret, it could be dangerous, not only for her reputation but for the stability of the entire kingdom. "Find out," the queen ordered coldly, "and bring me proof." Suspicion grows meanwhile, Serenya continued. Her secret visits. She felt the pressure of her mother's gaze during meals, the weight of questions she dared not answer. "Why are you always tired, Serenya?" the queen asked one morning. "I study late," Serenya lied. The queen's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. That night, Serenya slipped away again. She carried a lantern and a basket of food, her heart racing as she hurried through the hills. She reached the clearing and saw Elias waiting, sitting beside the broken ship. His face lit up when he saw her. "You came," he said with relief. "Of course." Serenya smiled. "I always will." For a time she forgot her worries. They sat together, sharing bread and fruit. Elias spoke of Earth, telling her about oceans, so large they seemed endless, about mountains taller than any palace, about storms that shook the ground. Serenya listened with wide eyes, dreaming of seeing those places herself one day. But even as they laughed, shadows moved in the distance. Hidden trackers watched from behind the rocks, their eyes fixed on the princess and the human. The spies report by dawn. The trackers returned to the palace. They bowed before the queen, their faces pale with disbelief. "My queen," one said, "we found her. She meets with a stranger, not of Valara." The queen's voice grew sharp. "What stranger?" "A human," the tracker whispered. The throne room fell silent. Gasps spread among the advisors. A human, one of the most mistrusted species in the galaxy, was with the princess. The queen's face turned to stone. "Bring them both before me, at once." The summons. That evening, Serenya returned to the palace, unaware of what awaited her. As she entered her chambers, guards stepped from the shadows. "Princess Serenya," one said. "Her Majesty commands your presence." Serenya froze, fear rushing through her. Did her mother know? She walked with the guards through the great halls, her heart pounding. The throne room doors opened and she stepped inside. The queen sat high upon her throne, surrounded by nobles and advisors. "Daughter," the queen said, her voice calm but cold. "Tell me where you go at night." Serenya tried to steady her voice. "I walk in the hills. I enjoy the stars." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Do not lie to me." She gestured and the trackers stepped forward. "We saw her, Majesty. We saw her with the human." Gasps filled the hall. Serenya's breath caught in her chest. The truth was out. The queen rose, slowly from her throne. You dare meet with an outsider? A human of all creatures? Serenya lifted her chin, her fear fading into resolve. Yes, she said firmly. I met him. His name is Elias Ward. The hall erupted in angry whispers. Nobles spoke of shame, of betrayal, of danger. The queen raised her hand for silence, her eyes burning. Bring him here. Elias before the throne. The guards went to the hills and soon returned with Elias, bound at the wrists. He walked with steady steps, his head held high despite the chains. When they pushed him into the throne room, he looked around at the hostile faces, then at Serenya. She met his gaze, her heart aching. The queen's voice was sharp as steel. Who are you, human? Elias straightened. My name is Elias Ward. I am an explorer from Earth. My ship crashed, and I survived. Why are you with my daughter? The queen demanded. Elias's eyes flickered to Serenya, then back to the queen. Because she chose to help me. Without her, I would be dead. The nobles scoffed. One shouted, He bewitched her. No princess would lower herself to such a creature. The queen's gaze fixed on Serenya. Is this true? Did you help him? Serenya's heart raced. She could lie, but Elias's life would still be in danger. No, she would not hide the truth any longer. Yes, Serenya said, her voice strong. I helped him. I brought him food, water, and tools. I went to him every night. The court erupted in outrage. The queen's voice cut through the noise. Why? Serenya stepped forward, her cloak slipping from her shoulders. Her voice did not tremble. Because he is more than what you think. He is brave. He is kind. He speaks to me not as a princess, but as a person. For the first time in my life I am seen, not as a crown, not as an alliance, but as myself. The queen's face darkened. You shame this throne with such words. Serenya's eyes blazed with defiance. No, mother. I honor it with truth. You ask who he is? The hall grew silent. All eyes turned to the princess. Serenya looked at Elias, then back at the queen. He is the one I chose. The one I trust. The one I married. Her words struck the court like thunder. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Nobles shouted in disbelief, some even collapsing to their knees in shock. The queen stood frozen, her face pale. You... What? Serenya lifted her chin, proud and unafraid. I married him. In secret. He is my husband. Shock and silence. The throne room fell into chaos. Nobles screamed of scandal. Advisors begged the queen to punish both of them. Guards tightened their grip on Elias, ready to drag him away. But Elias did not flinch. He stood tall, his eyes locked on Serenya, and she looked back at him with steady courage. The queen raised her hand again, demanding silence. Slowly, the voices died down. The queen's gaze moved from her daughter to Elias. A human as your husband, she said, her voice trembling with anger. Do you understand what you have done? You have broken tradition, insulted your people, and defied your mother. Serenya answered without fear. I understand, and I would choose him again. The queen's chest rose and fell with fury, yet beneath her anger, something else stirred. A shadow of doubt, of curiosity. What was it about this human that her daughter would risk everything for him? The queen turned to the guards. Take him to the dungeons, and confine the princess to her chambers. The guards moved to obey. Elias was pulled away in chains. Serenya cried out, struggling against the soldiers holding her. Elias, she shouted. He turned his head, his voice strong even as they dragged him away. Serenya, do not lose hope. The doors slammed shut behind him. The storm ahead. The queen sat, heavily on her throne, her heart heavy with anger and confusion. Her daughter had married a human, the one species she least respected. The nobles demanded punishment, demanded blood. But the queen was not yet ready to decide. She needed to see for herself what made this human so different. Serenya, locked in, her chambers, paced with fury and fear. She had spoken the truth, but now Elias was in chains. She knew her mother would test him, judge him, maybe even destroy him. Yet deep inside, Serenia felt no regret. For the first time in her life, she had chosen for herself. The palace of Velara was in chaos. Rumors of the princess's secret marriage spread like wildfire through the noble houses. Some whispered of shame, others of betrayal, and many feared what this could mean for the kingdom. Yet amid the whispers, a more immediate threat loomed. The rival empire of Zarathus, always seeking an advantage over Velara, had heard of the scandal. They saw a kingdom divided, led by a queen whose own daughter defied her. In the eyes of Zarathus, Velara was weak, vulnerable, and ready to fall. The Trialelius sat in the dungeons, his chains cold against his wrists. Yet he did not appear frightened. His mind was calm, focused. He knew the Queen's court would test him, but he also knew that fear and pride were not the same. Serenia entered the dungeon, her eyes bright with determination. She knelt beside him, brushing the chains aside with her hands. "Elias," she whispered, "they are planning to judge you. The court believes you are dangerous. They do not understand humans." He looked at her, a small smile on his face. "Then we will show them together. They will see that humans are not to be underestimated." Serenia's heart swelled. She had chosen him, and now she would stand by him no matter what the consequences. The next day, the Queen summoned them both to the grand hall. The nobles crowded the chamber, eyes filled with curiosity and anger. The Queen's voice was firm and commanding. "Human," she said, pointing at Elias, "you stand accused of seducing my daughter and bringing shame upon this court. Speak, if you dare." Elias stepped forward, his voice calm and unwavering. "Your Majesty, I have done no harm. I came to your world by accident. Your daughter helped me because she saw a person, not a crown. And in return, I gave her my respect and my friendship. Nothing more." The nobles whispered among themselves. Some scoffed, others shook their heads in disbelief. A few, however, looked thoughtful, sensing something different in his presence. Serenia stepped forward, her eyes locked on her mother. "Mother, he is not a threat. He is honest, brave, and loyal. That is why I chose him. He is my husband, and I will not deny him." The court erupted. Voices shouted in anger, demanding punishment, calling Elias an outsider, a danger, and worse. The Queen held up her hand. Silence fell. Her eyes studied Elias, then Serenia, and for the first time she felt uncertainty. Perhaps there was something about this human, something she had not yet understood. The first attack before the Queen could decide the punishment, a warning came from the northern borders. The Zarathis fleet had arrived. They moved swiftly, launching an attack on Velara's outer cities. Fires spread, alarms blared, and the palace trembled under the weight of incoming ships. The Queen's face hardened. "This is not the time for court disputes. We must defend our kingdom." Serenia's hand found Elias's. "I will not let them harm our people," she said. Elias nodded. "Then we fight. Together." Despite his small number of Velaran soldiers willing to trust him, Elias quickly assessed the situation. The Zarathis' ships were strong, but their tactics were predictable. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Velaran technology, he suggested a plan. Split the defenders into small mobile units and use the terrain to their advantage. The Queen, though hesitant, saw no alternative. With a reluctant nod, she allowed Elias to lead. The battle begins. The first clash came at dawn. Zarathis' ships descended like dark storms, firing energy beams that lit the sky. Velaran defenders struggled to hold their positions, but Elias had already prepared traps and ambush points along the mountains and valleys. "Take the high ground," he shouted to a group of Velaran soldiers. "Use the cliffs. Don't let them see you until the last moment." The soldiers followed his commands with uncertainty at first, but soon realized his plan worked. When Zarathis' forces advanced, they were met with unexpected resistance from hidden positions. Serenia watched from a hilltop as Elias coordinated attacks. She had never seen someone fight like this before, not with brute force, but with intelligence and courage. He moved quickly, giving orders, adjusting strategies on the fly, and inspiring even the most skeptical Valaran soldiers. Her heart swelled with pride. This was the human she had chosen. Brave, clever, and unyielding. Turning the tide hours past. The Zarathi's forces expected an easy victory, but Elias's leadership turned the battle in Valara's favor. Small groups of defenders ambushed the enemy, cutting supply lines and forcing their retreat. His knowledge of survival tactics combined with Valaran weaponry created a new strategy the enemy could not predict. The nobles who had doubted him watched in awe. Some even whispered that perhaps the princess had chosen wisely. Amid the chaos, Sirenia moved alongside him, helping coordinate supplies and encouraging the soldiers. Her courage inspired those around her. Together, they became a symbol of hope. The battle raged until nightfall. Fires burned across the landscape, but the Zarathi's forces were retreating. Valara had survived, not just through numbers or technology, but because of leadership, courage, and quick thinking. After the battle, when the fighting ended, the palace was quiet again. The queen walked through the halls, observing the aftermath. She saw injured soldiers being helped, supplies being restored, and Valaran citizens returning to safety. Finally, she turned to Elias. He stood tall, not proud, but confident. "You have fought well," she said, her voice softening. "You have saved lives today." Elias bowed respectfully. "I did what I could. Your people are brave. They only needed guidance." The queen studied him carefully. There was something in this human she could not ignore. Courage, intelligence, loyalty, qualities she valued even if she had never admitted it. She turned to Sirenia. "You have risked much for him," she said quietly. Sirenia smiled. "I have chosen the one I trust. He is human, yes, but he is also my husband." The queen remained silent for a long moment, thinking. Perhaps she had been wrong to underestimate humans. Perhaps there was more to their kind than she had been taught. A kingdom-changed news of the battle spread quickly through Valara. The people spoke not only of victory, but of the human who had helped lead them. Whispers of admiration and curiosity replaced scorn. The queen, though still wary, began to see that this human might not be a threat at all. In fact, he had done what Valara's nobles had failed to do: unite the people and defend the kingdom. When it mattered most, Sirenia stood beside Elias, her hand resting lightly on his arm. She felt a sense of pride she had never known before. Together they had faced the storm and survived. Together they had shown that courage and loyalty mattered more than titles or bloodlines. The queen watched them from her throne, her mind filled with questions and grudges alike. But deep down, she could not deny the truth. Elias had proven himself worthy of her daughter's trust. The sun rose over Valara, casting golden light across the palace towers. Smoke from the battle still lingered in the air, but the kingdom was alive. The streets were filled with citizens cheering for their defenders, celebrating the victory that had saved their homes and families. Princess Sirenia walked through the city with Elias by her side. People stared, some with curiosity, some with awe. They had heard tales of the human who had led Valara's soldiers, who had outsmarted the enemy and protected the kingdom. Now they saw him in person. Sirenia squeezed Elias's hand. "You have changed everything," she whispered. Elias smiled, modest as always. "No, you have changed everything. You trusted me even when everyone else doubted. You gave me a chance to help." Sirenia's heart swelled. The streets were alive with the sounds of celebration, but she felt calmer than ever. Together, they had faced the impossible. Together, they had survived. Respect earned in the palace, the queen stood in the throne room, watching her daughter and the human walk through the halls. She had spent the night reflecting, thinking about the battle, about Elias and about her daughter's courage. Finally, she spoke to her advisors. "He is not like the stories we were told. He is clever, brave, and loyal. Perhaps we have been wrong to judge humans so harshly." The advisors nodded slowly. They could not deny it. The human had saved Valara, and his actions had earned him respect, even among the most skeptical nobles. The queen's gaze softened as she thought of her daughter. Sirenia had grown stronger, braver, and more confident in herself. Perhaps it was time to accept that humans could be more than outsiders. They could be allies and even family. Recognition and celebration. A grand ceremony was held in the palace courtyard. Citizens from all over Valara gathered to honor the defenders of the kingdom. The queen took the stage, standing tall before the crowd. "People of Valara," she began, her voice carrying over the cheering crowds. "We have faced a great threat, and we have survived thanks to bravery, wisdom, and loyalty." Her eyes moved to Elias. "Among those who fought, one came from beyond our world. He is a human named Elias Ward. He has shown courage, leadership, and honor that even the highest of our nobles could not match." The crowd fell silent for a moment, then erupted in cheers. Citizens waved banners and called out his name. Even the nobles who had doubted him could not deny the truth. Elias had earned their respect. Sirenia stood proudly beside him. She lifted her hand, and Elias took it. Together they faced the crowd, symbols of courage and unity. A conversation with the queen later, the queen invited Elias to speak with her privately. Sirenia waited outside, anxious and hopeful. The queen motioned for him to sit. "You have proven yourself," the queen said quietly. "I underestimated humans. I underestimated you." Elias bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, I only did what I could. Your people fought bravely alongside me. I would not have succeeded without them." The queen studied him carefully. "You are unlike any human I have known. You have strength, loyalty, and wisdom. You are worthy of my daughter." Elias's eyes met hers. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only wish to protect her and serve Valara in any way I can." The queen nodded slowly. "Then you have my blessing. But remember, respect must be earned every day, not just in battle." Elias bowed deeply. "I understand, Your Majesty." Sirenia, watching from outside the door, felt a surge of joy. The queen had accepted him, not just as her daughter's choice, but as a part of Valara's future. Unity. Across worlds in the following days, life in Valara slowly returned to normal. The people celebrated, repaired their homes, and thanked those who had defended them. But the story of Elias Ward, the human who had stood beside Valara in its darkest hour, spread far beyond the palace. Other kingdoms and distant species began to speak of him, curious about the human who could inspire loyalty and lead alien forces. The queen, once wary and proud, began to see that humans could be allies and friends, not just outsiders or threats. Sirenia and Elias worked together, helping rebuild the cities and planning ways to strengthen Valara's defenses. Their partnership was more than personal. It became a symbol of unity between worlds. Love and trust. At night, Sirenia and Elias would sit on the palace balcony, gazing at the stars. The moon shone brightly, reflecting on their hands held together. "Do you ever regret it?" Sirenia asked softly. "Choosing to help me? Staying here?" Elias shook his head. "Never. I have found something more valuable than survival or adventure. I have found trust, respect, and love, and I would face any danger for you, Sirenia." Sirenia smiled, feeling warmth in her chest. "And I would face any danger for you." They leaned together, the city lights below them flickering like tiny stars. Their bond had grown stronger through trials, dangers, and the judgment of a kingdom, and now it was stronger than ever. A kingdom changed forever. The queen held a council to discuss the future. She spoke of alliances, trade, and defense, but she also included Elias in the discussions. His insights were sharp, practical, and sometimes unconventional, but always effective. The nobles, once skeptical, began to respect him. They saw that he had not come to Valara to take, to conquer, or to deceive. He had come to help, to protect, and to unite. Even the citizens of Valara began to see humans differently. Stories of Elias's bravery, honor, and loyalty were told in every corner of the kingdom. The fear and prejudice that had existed for generations began to fade. Serenia stood beside Elias, proud not only of him but also of her own choice. She had chosen love, trust, and courage over tradition and fear, and in doing so she had changed her kingdom forever. A bright future weeks turned into months. The scars of the battle healed, and Valara grew stronger. Trade with other kingdoms resumed, defenses were improved, and the people's trust in their leaders deepened. Serenia and Elias worked together, planning not only for the safety of Valara, but also for the future of their union. They dreamed of exploring the stars together, learning from other worlds, and bringing knowledge and friendship to all who would listen. The queen, once proud and strict, observed them with quiet approval. Though she still held high standards, she had learned that trust, courage, and love were sometimes stronger than tradition. One evening, as the 3 moons rose over the palace, the queen approached her daughter and Elias. She placed a hand on Serenia's shoulder. "You have chosen wisely, my daughter," she said softly. "This human, he has proven himself. And I see now that perhaps the future of Valara is stronger with him by your side." Serenia's eyes sparkled with joy. Elias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not disappoint you. Bias." Queen nodded. "See that you do not. Together you both carry the hope of this kingdom." The ending Serenia and Elias stood together on the balcony, gazing at the stars. They held hands, their hearts filled with love and courage. Valara had survived the greatest threat it had faced in generations, and in doing so, it had learned something new. Humans were not weak, fragile, or unworthy. They were brave, loyal, and capable of greatness. The people of Valara had witnessed this firsthand. The nobles had learned it through action, and the queen herself had seen it in the eyes of the human who had won her daughter's heart. Together, Serenia and Elias looked toward the horizon, dreaming of the worlds they could explore, the lives they could touch, and the legacy they would build, not only as husband and wife, but as symbols of unity, courage, and the enduring strength of trust and love. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, as if the galaxy itself celebrated the bond between a Valaran princess and a human. And in that moment, the kingdom, the people, and even the queen knew something important. Humanity was not to be underestimated. For the first time, the galaxy saw that humans could inspire, lead, and change worlds.